Hi everyone, and welcome or welcome back to the channel. This is your host Carmina, astrologer, card reader, and we have again with us today a special guest, astrologer Rok Koritnik. Welcome back, Rok.
Thank you.
It's really nice to have you back. Rok and I already recorded 2 videos talking about a fresh perspective on looking at Varga charts, at divisional charts. We have a general video and then another video looking at the Hora and the Trimsamsha divisions, and you can check that out in the description box, the other videos. It would be nice if you watch them first so that you better understand what we are going to do now. So today we are going to be talking about the 12th division of a sign, which is called the Dwadasamsa. And in Vedic astrology, we look at the Dwadasamsa for ancestors and ancestry patterns and things that are inherited, because the nodes are very important in this chart. But let's see what Rok thinks about the Dwadasamsa. Tell us, Rok.
Yeah, Dwadasamsa is very interesting, especially because we find it also in the Hellenistic astrology, in the old Western astrology. And while the Navamsha is like the main division in Indian astrology, in Hellenistic, the Dwadasamsha, or they called it Dodekatemoria, was the main, a very important division. So what was interesting is that I found way more instructions on how to use it in Hellenistic texts than in Indian texts. And when I first read about that, I said, no way, you can't do that. Because I was very much, still in this paradigm, okay, Vargas are separate charts. But what the Hellenistic astrologers did was they calculated the Dwadasamsha positions, to a degree. Not just they said, okay, it falls in this Dwadasamsha. No, they were really, performing this multiplication as is done for all the harmonic Vargas. Although Dwadasamsha, as we will see, is not exactly a harmonic Varga, it's just, it's very own thing. But they would calculate it, and then they would just place the Dwadasamsha positions around the chart or in the chart. And they would consider them as, like the subtle bodies of a planet. So you have a planet in the Rashi, but then you have also the Dwadasamsha position. And a planet can influence another planet through its Dwadasamsha position. It's like you're here, but you have some mystical powers, and you can also influence a person in another room, through your subtle body. That's the way how they thought about it, as far as I understand. And yeah, when I discovered this, on 7 Stars Astrology site, which is really a goldmine of information on Hellenistic techniques, I was just like in shock. How can you do this? And then, when I was thinking about it, it became so, so clear and so natural that this is, like my default way of using it. And the Dwadasamsha is actually my primary Varga. This is the first one that I look at. So maybe just first we can look how this Varga is constructed.
Yes.
And then later see some application.
It's interesting that the rest of them are harmonic, but this one is a little different because the nodes are also a little different. So
yeah,
maybe
here if we would create the 12th harmonic chart, which I can show also.
I just want to see the beautiful symmetrical.
yeah. Where is it? Oh, it's right here. So this is the 12th harmonic. So we have, what is it? Dodecagon.
Semi-sextile?
Yeah. It's basically a relationship of semi-sextile degrees, or some would say it's in conjunction. Yeah, so we simply have, all possible angular relationships, aren't we? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't really bring anything new, because we've seen all the angular relationships
In
already
the
in other
previous,
Vargas.
yeah.
So it makes sense to construct this one in a different way. So we are not so much concerned with splitting the circle, the circle, but we're interested in splitting the sign and create a micro zodiac within a sign. And it's done like this. It always starts with the sign itself and then continues in the natural order of the signs. And some say that it's also the Dwadasamsa is based on the solilunar cycle, because it's 12 of them in one sign. And why this is interesting and important, we will see shortly. But for now, this is how the Dwadasamsa is. And it's calculated so that the Hellenistic astrologers, they wanted us to calculate to a degree, not just say, okay, a planet is in, say, Gemini, Dwadasamsa. No, they would say, okay, take the degree of the planet. Let's say that, we have a planet at 10 degrees of Taurus, then multiply this by 12 and add it to 0 Aries. No, to 0 Aries, sorry, from the beginning of the sign. 0 Aries is for harmonics. Here we always go from the beginning of the sign. So multiply the degrees and add the result to the beginning of Taurus. And then you get the position, a specific point, accurate to a degree, that you simply place back into the main chart. And now we can look at how this is done. Here.
So what exactly do you see with the Dwadasamsa? Do you also see the predispositions from like ancestors, or do you see also more concrete things?
Yeah, I mean, I've mentioned that it's like the subtle body, right?
Yes.
So it's the subtle level, what's there in, some say, what's there in the seed form, what was there before we were born, what was there before the manifested, which is the Rashi, the main positions. So it makes sense that Parashara says, for parents, grandparents, so basically ancestors. And it kind of conforms it, for example, in this chart, which is my chart, just for simplicity's sake. Here I will put the Dwadasamsa. So these are the Dwadasamsa positions. This is how the Hellenistic astrologers would do it. And also the Yavana Jataka also says the same thing, but since it doesn't use this kind of division, but as we have seen in the previous video, it uses the Trimsamsa version of it. It says to look at the Dwadasamsa in the Trimsamsa. And this is exactly what instruction that we get especially from Firmicus Maternus, the Roman astrologer. He says always when he's delineating planets, he says that never forget to look at the Decatemorian, the Dwadasamsa position of a planet, and see which bound it falls in. And the same is said in Yavana Jataka, to judge these positions, according to their placement in these divisions. So it's basically using one division that is read, in the placement into another division, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. And when I first, saw this, I was like, what? This is not possible. But then it was really revealing. So in this case, I will, so here we have an exalted moon, but by Dwadasamsa, it falls in the 12th house. It's no longer in the 4th house, which is a good house for the moon. It's no longer exalted. It's in Capricorn, you know. So yes, I've seen that through age, you know, when I grew up, you know, this position of the moon became much more relevant than the Rashi position, you know. I was really, you know, no longer so, I could say that I became emotionally more reserved, maybe more cold, more suppressed. Um, and it's also interesting that this is something that I see in the lineage of my father, you know, Capricorn moons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
serious people.
Yeah. So it's, you know, as you said, you know, the Dwadasamsa is for, you know, the patterns that you inherit from ancestors. So here you go, you know, I see this, you know, also in my father's chart as moon in Capricorn.
So when do you think this comes into effect, like this Dwadasamsa more?
That's something I have to explore more. But I mean, if I speculate, it's, you know, like, you know, in the second half of life, you know, or at least, you know, in really adult age. But yeah, maybe there's some timing to be discovered also, you know, how to time the effects of the Dwadasamsas. Unfortunately, there's not any information according to my knowledge about it. But yeah, in my case, I've seen that, you know, the Capricorn moon placement became, you know, like very prominent after I was 30.
But I see you have a nice exalted sun there, so.
Yeah, sun exalts here. Yeah, hopefully this will manifest too. I don't see it yet. Don't see it yet. But yeah, this is something, you know. My father was an obsessed sportsman till recently, so it's also something that.
So do you use this to assess personality more, or you can also use it with predictions?
With predictions, of course. But this is you pay attention also. For example, with transits, you know, normally we would only look at, okay, now Jupiter is transiting the moon here. You know, we would just be concerned with conjunctions or aspects to the moon. But it's important to only also look at transits over its Dwadasamsa position, because it's also, you know, the subtle plane is influencing the gross, the physical. Yeah, so there are many uses for this, you know, especially when you place it back like this.
Yes. That looks quite fascinating. And I'm looking forward to hear more about it when there's more research done on it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've demonstrated this this way of using it in an article on Dwadasamsa on my webpage. I took one chart of a painter, of an artist, and one of a cardiologist, and how things are seen through, you know, how you can pinpoint things through Dwadasamsa, because, you know, it's really straightforward. The other Vargas all have a particular meaning, you know, due to their numerology, but Dwadasamsa is just, you know, that what is on a subtler level.
Yes. Very interesting. You can check out Rok's website, rokkoritnikastrologer.com, to see his other research that he's doing, and also he's, of course, offering astrology consultations. Anything else you want to mention about the Dwadasamsa?
Yeah, maybe we can just, since we're talking astrology here, for example, Mercury position by Dwadasamsa is in the 8th house in Virgo, very close to my Lagna Lord, you know, the Ascendant Lord. In the bound, you know, this is what's important to the Hellenistic, in the bound of Jupiter, you know.
Yes.
So maybe if it would not be in the bound of Jupiter, if it would be in the bound of Saturn, you know, I would maybe just, you know, suffer through hell. And not really gain any, you know, insights from it, or be interested in, you know, knowledge because of it. So basically, my bodily suffering brought me to astrology, because my first attempt was, because other, medical practitioners were really unable to help me. No one really knew what was going on. So I said, okay, maybe I will figure things out through astrology. And yeah, this is one indication, because it's the eighth lord coming to the seventh, and then has the Dwadasamsa position here in Jupiter is bound. Yeah, this is how it's been used in the West in the early centuries.
Wonderful. It's great to hear this, and it's nice to bridge also this, because the more and the more techniques we can use, maybe the closer we can get to something consistent, like a consistent technique, a consistent approach.
Yeah,
gives more results. So it's great.
Yeah, I just wanted maybe for the end, because I said it in the previous video, to show how the Drekana and the Chaturtamsha relate to the Dwadasamsa.
Of course, please do.
So again, here we have our.
It looks like a mandala more and more.
Mandala. So here we have our 12 Rashis, the Drekanas, the Chaturtamshas, and the Dwadasamshas in the outermost circle. We've seen with the Parivriti, Drekana and the Navamsha, which is a Parivriti Varga, how they are relating, how they are, how they're fitting each other. And the same is the case with the non-harmonic Vargas that I call is the Dwadasamsha family. If you would look here, for example, Taurus Drekana, right? The Drekana of Taurus. It starts with Taurus Dwadasamsha. Virgo Drekana starts with Virgo Dwadasamsha. And Capricorn Drekana starts with Capricorn Dwadasamsha. Right? And here we have, Taurus, of course, starts with Taurus Chaturtamsha. Leo Chaturtamsha starts with Leo Dwadasamsha. Scorpio Chaturtamsha starts with Scorpio Dwadasamsha. And Aquarius Chaturtamsha starts with Aquarius Dwadasamsha. So it's one family of Vargas, the three Vargas that are designed, on the same principle. And it's not just something random, but we see that there is some order that they are relating, in particular points. So it makes sense that when we're using the Dwadasamsha, it makes sense that in conjunction with it, we're using these two Vargas, the non-harmonic ones, if we decide to use them.
Yes, it all looks very nice and harmonic, symmetrical.
Yeah.
I like the convergence, like you can see the relation from one to the other. It makes sense. It looks quite natural. So there is a flow to it. So there has to be something there.
I'm all about this, I like things that when I see some stuff is like correlating nicely. If something is just, all over the place and it doesn't have the same rationale behind it, it's just like, what? Maybe someone just brought some different things together, haphazardly, and it doesn't make very much sense. And I suspect that since we know that Parashara Hora Shastra is, a compilation of techniques from various sources, apparently, that the author who designed this Shodasha Varga scheme basically picked various Vargas from different systems together and, just then created a dignity pointing system, dignity scoring system based on that. But we can see that, if we look at the Navamsha and the Saptamsha, they are of another family. They are of Parivriti family. They are harmonic Vargas, and they are included. And then we have this family of Vargas, the Dwadasamsha family, which again has a different rationale. Then we have the Hora and Trimsamshas, which again are based on, a different principle. And somehow, we just have all of this together, which really, creates some serious doubt in my mind about the, how authentic this Shodasha Varga system really is.
Yes.
So that would be it from my part.
Thank you very much. It's been really interesting. I also learned some new things. So I hope you guys did too. Check out Rok's website. I'm going to link it in the description box, and the other videos we did together. Mm-hmm. And, I'm looking forward to hear more on his research as he develops it. So thank you, Rok, for being here.
Yes, thank you for your invitation.
Of course. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.